Senior Moments, sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Good morning. This is the Senior Moments Show. I'm your host, Sid Roederer. And Bryce is missing today in action, so we'll missing during this show. We are here with one of our members and guests from the Empowering Seniors Group, Scott. Oh my gosh.
Howder. Howitter, however you want to say it.
That's right. We've had that discussion before.
Yep.
So it's nice to have you here, Scott, with White Pine Funeral Homes out in, actually, I always forget if it counts to Providence or if it counts to Logan.
It's considered Logan.
It's considered Logan. Mm-hmm. Well, good to have you here. Let me quickly talk about our sponsor, which is the Empowering Seniors Group. If you would like to learn more about the Empowering Seniors, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info, or you can email us at empoweringseniorscv@gmail.com, and the CV stands for Cache Valley. And lastly, you can, if you have any suggestions for the show, anyone you would like to see us invite, you can call me personally at 435-512-6406. Well, Scott, it's good to have you. It's been a hot second since we've had you on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Always glad to have you. And as there's always a good time to think about maybe some planning, and we've talked about it before in the past. There are different options if somebody is thinking about pre-planning or pre-paying a funeral. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. So the advantage of pre-paying or pre-planning a funeral, there's many benefits. A lot of people, when someone passes away, the surviving family members, it can be a huge, huge stress on them. Not just financially, but also decision-making. It can be one of the more stressful times for them because they want to get it right. They want to make sure that mom and dad are taken care of, or their, whoever their loved one is. They worry and they stress about making the right decisions on what kind of services, what kind of other things like casket, or if we cremate, or if we do a full viewing and a funeral. And they can come in prior, and plan ahead prior to death, and they can make payments on it. So even a funeral can be a big financial burden on people. But if you pre-pay it, pre-plan it, you can come in and make payments on it, which can take a huge stress off your surviving loved ones easily. So we have many options, different services that are offered there in the market, and people can choose what fits them best and what think that would be better for their surviving family members down the road.
That's great. So if you're saying you can make payments on it, what's a typical payment plan that you facilitate?
That's a great question. There's two options we have, and each person's different on what kind of payments they want to do. We do offer insurance, but we also do offer what's called a trust, and the money goes into a trust. And there's two different ways, and depending on financial circumstances, will depend largely on what option's best for you. Typical, like for a trust, I'm more familiar with trusts. That's what I was more trained as I became a funeral director. Typical we kind of like to have the services paid for within a 5-year period of time. You can pay it all up front. You can pay it however you want, as long as it's paid for within 5 years, and there's no interest added. You pay strictly on the principal of what you've chosen. The payments can range anywhere from $100 a month to $300 a month. It's not outrageous, and that's depending on what casket you get, what kind of services you want, and of course, that's about average. It's about $100 to $200. On the insurance side, that's a little different, and that I'd have to refer to our pre-need salesperson, Melanie Christie, who works down there. She is a wealth of knowledge of how to help people through that, and she's a specialist in it. She specializes in that, and also specializes in aftercare after the services are finished. She will help people, walk them through of closing out accounts, contacting Social Security, helping with life insurance policies, and filing for those claims. So she's really good at that.
Yeah. I'm a little curious on when people sit down with you and they pre-plan the funeral. I'm assuming, as you said, it's the casket. It's maybe even the program that they want done. Do people come back and change that again then down the road? How does that work?
I've seen it done before, and it's not common, but yeah, there are times people will say, you know what, I changed my mind. I don't want to do this anymore. Sometimes they'll change from a full funeral to a cremation, and there is a refund. There's usually no penalties with that. If they decided they wanted to change a certain casket, or even if they wanted to add information for their funeral, like a program, or this is my obituary, they can pre-write their obituary, and we'll put it in their file and have it on file so that when the time comes where they do pass away, their surviving family members don't have to worry about writing an obituary and stress about that. And during that time, a lot of people don't want to be stressed while they're mourning their loved one. And pre-paying, pre-planning, pre-arranging, whatever you want to call it, it really helps the surviving family members.
I can imagine. And so what is a typical range that a standard funeral, what people need to calculate for? So
another great question. So usually depending on services they choose, we're talking averages are about anywhere from $10,000 to $13,000 is pretty average. And that's having a viewing, having two viewings, a funeral, a burial. That's including the cemetery expenses. That's including flower expenses. It's including obituary. That's all incorporated in that price. We put those prices into our bill so that, again, the families don't have to worry about that, getting a bill in the mail. We have it all in one. So typical prices are $10,000 to $13,000. On cremation, you're more down in like $2,600. That's usually a typical price for a direct cremation. That does not include death certificates or anything, but that's just where we take care of the person. We do the cremation process, and we make sure the family's taken care of in that sense.
That is great. We're already coming up on our first break here, Scott, so I do not want to miss the opportunity to ask you for your contact information and your location in case somebody would like to talk to you.
Yes, my name's Scott Howder. I'm located at 753 South, 100 East in Logan. Our phone number is 435-709-6800, 6800.
That's great. And maybe for our listeners, if you want to take out a pen and a paper, if you missed that, when we come back, we're going to be sure to mention that contact information again. And we're also going to pick up in preparation, because we talked before the show a little bit, and talk about headstones a little bit. This is the Senior Moment Show. Again, we are sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group. If you'd like to learn more about the Empowering Seniors, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info, or you can email us at empoweringseniors.cv@gmail.com, and the CV stands for Cache Valley. Or lastly, you can call me personally at 435-512-6406. This is the Senior Moment Show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Reed's Pharmacy in Hiram offers free delivery service 5 days a week, Monday through Friday throughout the valley. Just stay home and they will deliver to you. With 25 different suppliers, they won't have the shortage that others might have. Also, with compounding and many other services, they will be able to serve all your needs. In order to stay safe and help slow the spread, please call Reed's Pharmacy in Hiram at 245-DRUG, and they will take care of you.
This is Mark Thurston with White Pine Funeral Services. The best time to plan is when you have time to plan. Having a pre-arranged funeral gives peace of mind for everyone involved. White Pine will customize your final wishes to fit your needs, from a traditional burial to cremation to a custom headstone. White Pine also accepts pre-arranged plans from other mortuaries, and we will absorb any transfer or revocation fees. No penalty to you. Visit whitepinefunerals.com or come and see us for more information.
White Pine Funeral Services, here when you need us most. You have a lot of options when it comes to buying or selling a home. Do you list it online, sell it yourself, or do you have a realtor help? It's a major financial and emotional decision. A realtor is the liaison between buyers and sellers and really helps you navigate complex contracts, deadlines, and disclosures.
Hi, this is Sid Roeder with Achievement Realty.
I work for you to get the best outcome for your situation. Let me earn your trust with a free consultation and a free market analysis. Call me today at 512-6406. Then list it, sell it, and move on.
Hi, this is Bruce with Comfort Care. One of the ways we help loved ones stay in their home is by assisting with daily tasks. These may include bathing, meal preparation, medication reminders, and housekeeping. We even help with shopping, transportation, and errands. Most of all, we offer a trusted level of care. Let us help you live your best life possible with Comfort Care. This is Bruce, and you can call me at 754-7676. Comfort Care, 754-7676.
Welcome back. This is the Senior Moments Show. I'm your host, Sid Roeder. Today visiting with Scott Howder. I got it right this time, from White Pine Funeral Home. Welcome back, Scott.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit about funeral planning and all the preparations. And I did mention, because we talked about that before the show, is that maybe some people aren't aware you also sell headstones.
We do. A lot of people don't know that. There are a few headstone companies here in town, and a lot of people don't know that White Pine Funeral Services sell headstones. We do have a display room there at the location, and a lot of people also don't know or think it's very common to come and pick out their own headstone prior to passing away. So we have couples that come in and they will choose their own headstones. They can make payments on it before we get it ordered and installed, and they will choose what goes on the front, on the back, and then they have it installed even prior to either of them passing away. And so we hear a lot of children of, people saying, it's funny, my mom and dad have picked out their headstone, it's installed, and we go up there and we place flowers on it, and we think it's kind of weird, but it is actually a great idea, because then you get to choose what you want on your own headstone, and it's you take the emotional decision making out of it when you do it beforehand. So
yeah, that's kind of nice. And the person that is actually going to be there gets to decide what it looks like.
Exactly. Yeah. And the process is pretty simple. So if you come down kind of an idea of the size, the shape, and there are standard selections we have there. There are standard selections that you see most commonly in cemeteries. But you decide what color of granite, and you decide what shape you want and what size and how big or small. And then you let us know. You decide what you want engraved on the front. Any artwork, mountains, temples, anything that you want in the artwork. And we send it to a designer. And this designer puts it together and puts it exactly what it would look like. And it's kind of not a cartoon, but kind of a clip art that you can kind of see and be able to make any changes. And that process begins, and you can make as many changes to it as you want until you feel like this is exactly what we want. This is exactly the route we want to take. And by that time, once you make that decision, we get it ordered, and then it gets installed at the cemeteries, anywhere from 8 weeks to sometimes it can take 6 months. Mm-hmm. And that depends on what kind of color of granite you get. So there are some time frames that you might need to be aware of, especially if you're wanting something done for Memorial Day. There are deadlines for that particular date. So
okay, this actually made me think of a question that I don't think I've ever asked you, because I haven't had to deal with that yet. How is it with a graveside? When someone comes to you to plan the funeral, do people typically have that squared away, or is that something that can happen down the road?
Are you talking about the headstone itself? Or?
No, the actual spot on the cemetery.
It seems like a high percentage people have already purchased their spaces at the cemetery. We do run into a few situations where they're not sure which cemetery to go at, especially which place in the cemetery. But it seems like most people at an elderly age that they will have decided, and they've spoken it with their spouse or decided which cemetery to go to, and they've gone to the city, that specific city and at their city offices and chose a specific space and paid for it. At the time of someone passing away, there is a fee to open and close the grave, where they have to bring out a backhoe and dig the grave. And that fee is not paid for prior to death. You have to pay for that fee at the time of death. And there's usually no way around prepaying for an opening closing fee at cemeteries. That's usually standard at the time of passing. And those fees we've seen continuously go up throughout the years. But purchasing a space prior to passing away is, again, a very smart idea. If children or a surviving family member has no idea where you want to be buried or interred or anything like that, it can be, again, another stress on them to try and, well, did mom or dad want Smithfield Cemetery? Did they want Logan Cemetery? But if that's all chosen, that takes that burden away from them. So, and then some parents, they don't even care if their kids go through that stress. They're like, who cares? Let them deal with it. And that's, again, that we see that too.
So do you ever find that kids would like to change that to make the grave be closer to where they are if they're not nearby? Do you ever find that? And is that possible?
It is possible, but extremely rare. You can sell your spaces. Some cemeteries will allow you to sell your spaces if you don't want to use them. If you change your mind and want to go to another cemetery, at the time of passing away, the time of death, it is extremely, extremely rare that they change their mind at that time. I've seen it change their mind prior to that, but not at the time of death.
Mm-hmm. And another curious question that just came to me. Do you see that anything is changing in the type of funeral service you're seeing? Like, do you see an increase in cremations over a burial? How do you see that?
Yeah, a little bit, very slightly. I've been doing funerals for 21 years. I've been a funeral director for 21 years, and I've seen that percentage of cremation creep up a little bit. Here in the valley, it's a very traditional valley. There's funerals and viewings is still a very common thing that people do. There is a lot of closure in having a viewing, especially with young people when they come in to see their loved one. There's something healing and helps the person process death when they can see that person one last time. Cremation, like I said, it has crept, the percentage has crept up a little bit, but not much. It is significantly less money, obviously, because you're saving on a lot of the services. Plus, you don't need a casket or vault or cemetery fees, anything like that. But we do, a little bit, but not too much. All the years I've worked.
Yeah. Maybe before we get into the next break, what is probably the most difficult thing you see the kids having to deal with when it comes to not having any preparation done?
That's a really good question. There's a few, depending on circumstances. I think one that we see every so often is financial. The financial obligations to pay for a funeral, I mean, that it's not cheap, like $10,000 to $13,000. And if it's something that's completely unexpected, or their parents have not paid for it or taken care of it, or have the money or means to pay for it, it's pretty stressful because it can be a financial burden on some of those surviving family members.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. We're coming up on our second break here quickly. Just enough time for the contact information one more time.
Okay, our phone number is 435-709-6800. And again, we're located at 753 South 100 East in Logan. We're kind of right by where you go get your driver's license. It's a big, beautiful facility, and you can come visit, and we'll give you a tour if you ever want to come see it.
Thank you, Scott. This is the Senior Moments Show. We'll be right back.
It's tough knowing how to care for an aging parent. Mom has always been there for me, but now I need to be there for her. When we found out she needed surgery, I wondered how I could attend to her needs and still be mom to my kids. I was so relieved to learn about transitional rehab at Maple Springs in North Logan. From the nurses to the physical therapists, it was like their whole staff was focused on helping Mom get better. Maple Springs in North Logan was an answer to my prayers.
Learn more at maplespringsnorthlogan.com or call 753-9400.
Hi, this is Tyler. Recently, my father passed away, and White Pine provided the funeral services for our family. They were friendly, thoughtful, and attentive to every detail. You know, it isn't often that a loved one passes away, so it was very important to my family that everything be handled just right. Because my dad was loved by so many people, we had a lot of family and friends that traveled from out of town. I really appreciate how White Pine Funeral Services made sure everyone was comfortable and that the focus was where it needed to be, on my dad and my family. They really took care of us during this tender time.
White Pine Funeral Services, here when you need us most.
Did you know 10,000 baby boomers qualify for Medicare every day? Did you know that you'll start to get swamped with mail about Medicare 6 months before your 65th birthday? Did you also know it doesn't cost anything to use an insurance agent to help you navigate through all those offers? Hi, I'm Tracy Ferris with Blue Water Health Insurance. Let me help you understand all the offers you're receiving and find the plan that fits best for your situation. Call me today at 435-890-8155.
Welcome back. This is the Senior Moments Show. I am your host, Sid Roeder, visiting today with Scott Howiter from White Pine Funeral Homes. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We've talked a little bit about funeral planning and insurance and the fact that White Pine can also sell headstones. One thing we haven't talked about, you have an event that is coming up in December.
Yes, thank you. So every year, around the beginning of December, we usually will hold a Christmas concert for families that we have served and helped throughout the year. And it's usually targeting to those families that are going to be spending their first Christmas without their loved one. And that can be one of the most difficult times for families to go through and to deal with, is holidays without their loved one. And so we usually will send out an invite to everyone that we have helped and served throughout the year since last Christmas to come to this concert. And it's put on by Jay Richards, who's a fantastic piano player, and he brings what we call the White Pine Choir. And they come and they put on this awesome Christmas program, musical program. And then we have a speaker that will speak for about 5 minutes, and they talk about their experience about how they dealt with it last year, where they did not have their loved one for the first time during Christmas holidays. And they kind of give some good counsel and share some thoughts about that. And it's, from what I understand, I'm fairly new with White Pine, so this will be my first concert that I'll be able to see. But talking with Britton Atkinson, who's a funeral director there at White Pine, he's been there for the last 2 or 3 years, and he says every concert is so touching and so fantastic. But we want everyone to know that everyone's invited. We open it up to the public; they can come, and it's something that you can come and listen to Jay Richards play the piano along with this choir that sings, and they do a fantastic job. And there will be refreshments. So obviously that's a plus.
So do you have to RSVP to attend if you're...
Nope. We send out the invites specifically to those that we've helped, but also we want to invite the public that they can come and participate and hear a great program put on.
So there's going to be some flyers out, or how is?
Yeah, we've created a flyer. We're going to try and get it out and onto some of these, onto your guys' website and media, and get the word out. It's going to be held on Wednesday, December 4th at 7 p.m. at our facility at the White Pine Funeral Services in the chapel. And again, there'll be refreshments and a wonderful program put on.
That sounds great. So we've talked a lot about the planning. Are there any stories, without naming names, that touched your heart that you can maybe share an experience with clients that comes to your mind?
One that comes to my mind was earlier this year. There was someone that was younger that was the parents of this younger person was expecting that this person was going to be passing away due to a sickness that he had. And I'm not going to mention names because it was a very touching experience to help the parents to help them move through this very extreme, difficult time, even though any parent can't prepare for the loss of a child, even if they knew it was coming. And they had an idea that it was that he would be passing away because of an ailment that he had. And it was to see them go through it breaks your heart, but to also see them, to help them through it, to kind of help them make their decisions, kind of give them advice with their decisions, to hold a funeral, to do a service, to help them process and heal, to begin to heal. I mean, it is, I can't imagine if it's possible to heal from the loss of losing a child. And that, to me, to see them go through that was very touching, and to see them to gain strength to do the service and to get through it, and was an eye-opener for me. And it happens to me once or twice a year where I really have an eye-opening experience where you see that happen. So yeah, that's one that I can recall as of recent, but I've got none.
Yeah.
Lots of those.
Thanks for sharing that, Scott. I appreciate it. This actually brings me to another question I haven't thought about. If somebody were to prepare to sit down with you to do some planning, what are some of the things you suggest they think about or come prepared with?
Great question. The number one is to determine what service they want to do, meaning if they want a viewing, if they want an open casket viewing, if they want cremation, if they want a funeral, where they'd want the funeral, where they'd want their burial. Just those kind of decisions is a good starting spot to discuss with a spouse, or discuss with your children, or discuss with your parents, to determine, this is the service I want. This is what I want done. So that's communicated to them, that in case death does happen, they will know and be prepared to make those decisions. And it makes it a lot easier to cross that bridge when it comes.
Thank you, Scott. Sadly, we are at the end of our show. Just, again, enough time to mention your contact information.
Again, my name's Scott Howder. My phone number is 435-709-6800. And White Pine Funeral Services, we're located at 753 South, 100 East in Logan. And I want to mention, we do have a really unique, cool hearse that gets a lot of people looking at it. And if you ever want to come by and take a look at it, sometimes I'll have it parked outside in the parking lot. Our services and our facilities is one of the nicest in northern Utah, and it is something that we pride ourselves, and we are very competitive in price with our services and our facilities. So
thank you, Scott, for coming in. It was a great show. For our listeners, we hope you tune in again next week.
Okay, thank you for having me.